Every single day there's a significant problem. You just keep working until you get through all the problems. You just keep knocking them over one at a time. What's the worst and hardest job I'm not looking forward to doing today? That's the first job I did. I made sure I had great bosses who were great mentors. And every now and then I'd get a boss and I'd think, no, not right for me. I'd leave that business. People think, oh yeah, they're making a lot of money now. Yeah, well, it was a huge risk at the start. We did have problems on jobs, you know. On Citylink, we had a terrible problem with the Burnley Tunnel, which cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. We made a mistake.
What legacy are living and leaving? It's a tough question to ask.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Private markets investments are investors can find some real value. I find the best way to learn is learn from someone who's done it before and given it a go. Hi, I'm Travis Miller, host of Grow Your Wealth podcast. Thanks for joining me here today. On these podcast sessions, we're going to talk through how certain investors have navigated the bumpy road of investing, whether it be through business or investments in general. Thanks for listening today. Welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Wealth podcast, where we delve into the minds of industry leaders to uncover strategies for financial success and sustainable growth. I'm your host, Travis Miller, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Tony Shepherd AO is considered Australia's leading authority on infrastructure and development. He currently serves as the chairman of Infrastructure SA, Bingo Industries Limited, the Sydney Entertainment Quarter, and the AFL GWS Giants. Tony's extensive career spans both the private and public sectors. In Australia and overseas, he has pioneered major infrastructure projects, including the Sydney Harbour Tunnel, Melbourne Citylink, and Eastlink. His contributions have reshaped Australia's infrastructure landscape and set new benchmarks for private sector involvement in public projects. Tony is not just a giant in the industry, he's also a passionate advocate for the arts, Indigenous affairs, and equal opportunity in the workplace. Join us as we explore Tony's insights on infrastructure, business, governance, sport, and politics, and learn from his visionary approach to leadership and development. Welcome, Tony.
oh, thank you, Travis. It's great to be here.
Appreciate you coming along.
Yeah.
A lot of our listeners like to go back to the start. Let's start at the beginning. Can you give us a bit of a summary on who you are and what you're currently focused on from a business perspective?
Okay, Travis. Yeah, it's a bit war and peace, but anyway. No, look, I was born in Melbourne in 1944, the day before D-Day. So I grew up in the post-war environment, and we weren't wealthy or rich or by any stretch, but hard-working family. Everybody had to go to university, whether we wanted to or not.
That's good.
But it was a time of great opportunity. Australia was on the spurs post-war.
Yeah.
We nearly got into serious trouble, and we weren't going to let it happen again, and we were growing the country strongly, and that was a bipartisan policy.
Yep.
So it was fantastic. So next year was always better than last year
Yeah.
for my whole lifetime.
Yeah.
So it was exciting. And we would try new things and challenges, and I got into a department, the old Department of Supply, which ran all the defence research and ordnance factories, NASA tracking stations, all of that stuff. And it was like boys' own journal stuff. It was much fun and get paid. And then I ended up in DC in our embassy representing Australia there, working in the office for two terrific attaches and liaison with NASA. And as a result of that, I got an invitation from NASA to go down. I went down to the launch of Apollo 16 at Cape Kennedy.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm thinking, I'm 27 years old. Here I am, carrying the Australian flag down in NASA for this exciting thing. Yeah. That was transformational.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And the Americans are great like that, and they love Australians, and they welcome you anywhere. And they help me learn and train me and what have you, and technology and all this sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
That I would never have had an exposure to in Canberra, that's for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was terrific. And then I came back and I moved into construction with the Federal Pipeline Authority, building a big gas pipeline. I tell you what, that was a baptism by fire.
Gotcha.
Working on site out in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, then I joined the private sector with the great company Transfield. And Franco Belgiano Neves was my mentor.
Gotcha.
And he taught me all I know about construction and business. He was a great mentor. He was a terrific mentor. But he also was a great guy because he said, you're a bit of a Philistine, you're a bit boring. You should get into the arts. And his son, Guido, got me into music as well. So they broadened my whole view on life. But the other thing, they were great because I came up with the idea of PPPs, private-public partnerships. Nobody had done any yet. I'd read an article about it in a magazine and thought we should give this a go. And I came up with the Sydney Harbour Tunnel. And I went to see Franco about it thinking, well, he'll say, he'll be crossing at me. His answer was just typical of Franco. Why not?
Yeah.
Not why not?
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. And he got behind it and we put together the package. And we negotiated it, I think, with the government. I had hours and hours of negotiation, got a concession deed together, put a deal together with our partners were Kumagai, the Japanese construction company. Fabulous people, terrific company. Anyway, we've pulled it off.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
we designed it, built it, financed it. We had Westpac as the bank and built it and owned it for 23 years. And it went back to the government. And, it was a phenomenal success.
Yeah. Was that the first PPP?
The first PPP in Australia.
That's pretty cool. I remember at my days at Deutsche, looking at the inflation-linked instruments and various bonds that came out.
Remember the bonds came out? Well, we all got into those, didn't we? I had a pile of those through Macquarie.
Yeah.
But we had on this deal, we had Westpac was the bank.
Gotcha.
And they did a great job because it was the first one. The government was phenomenal. It was incredibly constructive, and they had a terrific project director on it, and it just went smoothly. But it was challenging. It's the first immersed tube tunnel in Australia, and one of the first in the world, and we've never done one since. But on time, on budget, did the job beautifully. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, so that set the scene, and so then I thought, well, if I can do that one, we can keep going. So we did Melbourne Citylink. We created Transurban. I was the first director of Transurban. We brought electronic tolling to Australia.
Gotcha.
Yeah, first time probably in the world urban.
Tolling's getting popular today as well. The Sydney
Harbour.
Tolls both ways.
Yeah, people don't understand the risks that were taken.
Yeah, for sure.
They worry about the money we make. Yeah, but they weren't worried about it when we were sweating building these things, losing money on construction, taking massive technological risks.
Yeah,
we got that system out of Sweden. I went around the world with my best mate, Robert Rust, and found the best system we could find in the world, and we took it from Sweden. But there was not without massive risk. And to get investors to do that, you've got to get a reasonable return.
Yeah, for sure.
And
makes sense.
people think they're making a lot of money now. Yeah, well, it was a huge risk at the start, and we didn't even know what people would do with tolling. Yeah. Would the Melbourne people be prepared to, because the free roads were still there, would they use it?
Yeah.
Anyway, it took about 18 months, but they started using it, and of course it worked out well. But we had teething problems with the tolling system, and then the boss said, well, it's your project. Get back to Melbourne and sort it out. Back down to Melbourne again. Another couple of months sorting out this problem with the tolling system. But anyway, I love that stuff.
It's amazing some of the infrastructure projects have been put in place.
It is.
Like I've got a place up the farm up north, and I can now go from my place on the North Shore straight to Lane Cove Tunnel, up onto another tunnel on the freeway, and I'm on the Central Coast before you touch a light, basically.
It's fantastic. Well, I worked on the Lane Cove, I was chair of the Lane Cove Tunnel, so I worked on that one. That was another great one. And they made a huge difference. Yeah. And people just don't understand. Without us, that money would have had to come from schools, from hospitals, social services. They don't have a bottomless pit. So the private sector doing it brought them on years ahead of when they would have been available. And by the way, we took all the risk in construction and what have you. Have a look at the risks now in construction of the metro. Whew. Blowouts and all that. Well, if there's a blowout on our job, we paid.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we did have problems on jobs. On Citylink, we had a terrible problem with the Burnley Tunnel, which cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. We made a mistake.
Gotcha.
Okay? We had to eat it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Not the taxpayer. It's a risk. It's a real risk. There are real risks in these projects. The magic was Sydney Harbour Tunnel went so smoothly.
Gotcha.
Well, we had a great team led by Claudio De Berardino, one of our best project managers I've ever seen in my life. Brilliant job. But, thank God we got through that one all right.
It's a complex version of risk and return in a way, right?
It
a
is.
lot of the investors,
It's
risk and return, and yours is very complex.
And I also got because I came from defence, I got transferred into the defence business, and we took over Williamstown Dockyard.
Gotcha.
And we won the contract, which I was the bid manager for the Anzac warships.
Yep.
And we delivered 10 ships on time, on budget. I don't think the Department of Defence has done that for the last 50 years.
You don't really hear much about on budget, on time anymore, do you?
They're in defence. Yeah. It's a terminology they don't know. And we did it there.
Gotcha.
And it was a foreign design, and we had a great team. We had a terrific guy. John White was the CEO, brilliant guy, and his delivery was just perfect.
Gotcha.
But I put the whole bid together. God, that was a hard job. You're dealing with Navy and Defence. But anyway, we got there. So it was a company, Transfill, that it was always why not. You always got a chance. And they got behind you. The owners got behind you. You're like, I can remember Paul Saltieri coming with me down to, Dockyard and seeing the Minister for Defence and all that sort of stuff. They got right behind you. Gotcha. They gave you confidence. They backed you. They backed their team. And then they made sure you had the right resources.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that's another secret of success. You got to have the whole team and committed from top down.
Yeah.
And everybody working towards the same goal. Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, I can see that. You got the senior management support because you would have hit challenges, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to show a bit of resilience. Yeah. But it's easier to show resilience when you know your boss has already said to you, get out there and have a go.
Well, see, my career in that project development side, it was every day there was a problem. Every single day there was a significant problem. It was constant problem solving. So you walk in the morning, this is a problem. Yeah. You make sure it's fixed before you go home that night. Yeah. You just keep working until you get through all the problems. You just keep knocking them over one at a time.
I think problems is making a decision too, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's it. Don't leave it. Yeah. So I have this theory now I've always used. I get up in the morning, I'll say, what's the worst and hardest job I'm not looking forward to doing today? Yeah. That's the first job I do.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I never kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Yeah.
If it's eating away at me, do it now. Make that call that you don't want to make. Do it. Just do it.
Yeah, it's very good advice.
That decision making is absolutely vital. And grasping it. Yeah, I find that one of the things I've learned from the many mentors I had.
I think that's a brilliant one, right? Because you can sit around all day stressing and getting yourself tied up, whereas you just take whether it's a hit or a bullet or a decision, kind of just making it. You've got to do it.
99 times out of 100, it doesn't turn out that hard anyway.
No.
Yeah.
But you've got to step up.
You just got to step up to the plate and do it.
Make your call.
See, the other thing I had during my whole career, and I deliberately did this, I made sure I had great bosses who were great mentors. And every now and then I'd get a boss and I'd think, no, not the right for me. I'd leave that business.
Gotcha.
So I'd go and work for somebody else.
Yeah.
I'd find a boss that I could trust and learn from, who would support me and be a fabulous mentor. Yeah. I had phenomenal mentors during my career.
Gotcha.
The problem is now I'm so old I don't really have any mentors left. I've got my old mates that I go through now. I've still got old mates that I've worked with over many years, and I go and see them for advice now. They've become my unofficial mentors.
I guess your roles change, right? I can see you're obviously chairman of various boards, so I guess you've switched to passing your knowledge on to others.
Yes, that's it. Try and get others up and develop them and give them the lift that they need. Yeah.
Hey, if you're enjoying this, please subscribe on whatever platform you're using. It helps us build a community. We want to educate investors, and this is what it's all about.
Next question, taking a step back. Like you talked about sort of grew up we were chatting before about down in Murrumbeena.
Yeah.
So you obviously went to uni. What did you study?
I studied commerce at Melbourne.
Gotcha. Yep.
And I got a special alumni award from Melbourne recently. They invited me down there with 3,000 people in the art gallery, and they gave me a prize. I was amazed. I didn't even know they recognised I'd been there.
Great.
So I did my commerce part-time working in the government.
Yep.
And I did that because in the government, every time you passed a subject, they paid you for it.
That's pretty good.
You paid your fees.
Yeah.
So the government sort of underwrote you as long as you were getting through. And then I moved to Canberra with the department, and I completed my degree at the ANU.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which was a terrific university too, by the way. Great uni as well. Yeah.
It's got a good reputation.
Yeah.
And then how did you make that leap to DC? Obviously you met someone,
Well, I haven't seen. I had this terrific mentor running in the department, deputy secretary, a guy called Lloyd Bott.
Yep.
he was a World War II hero. Used to take fast PT boats from England into occupied France, dropping off supplies and spies and picking them up, and get a shot up every night.
For sure, yeah.
This is a
He did it
bravery of this
overnight.
guy. And he was the Dep Sec, and he took me under his wing. He said, "You're doing a degree. I like the style. I like your working. I'm going to move you around the department." And he moved me into every major branch to get experience, including the American projects branch, because we're doing a lot of work and we're doing some, you know, a bit of undercover stuff as well, you shall say. Anyway, and he said, "All right, now I'm going to send you to Washington. This will be your..." So he sent me there.
That's pretty good.
As a part of my personal development. Because in those days, that's what they did. They put, you know, they looked at people and said, "Look, they need experience in A, B, C, D, and let's give it to them."
Pretty good. I mean, you kind of look at that and think, geez, that's an amazing break. But it's sort of, people. I reckon people get their breaks. You must have shown him something. He thought, this kid knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
I'll rotate him around. If I send him to the US, he'll learn something and he'll be, you know, maybe good for the department. For the department.
Yeah, and it was right. So Lloyd Bott, he was one of the ones that started it. And then in construction, I went to Pipeline Authority, and the guy that ran that was terrific. And he taught me everything he could about construction and contracting and what have you. Yeah, and another great mentor. And just everywhere I've been, I've just been lucky or maybe organised it to make sure I've got the right mentor or leader that's going to help me. Franco Belgiano's another one. Yeah, just terrific influence. Yeah.
I mean, I think good mentors and leaders find the right people, right? You kind of put your hand up and I reckon they tend to find the right people.
Yeah, you do. You find the right people and you learn. And the really good ones take a serious interest in you, both personally and in a business sense. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sort of jumps on my next question, actually. Top 3 people who have influenced you. We've talked about 1 and 2 probably.
Yeah.
Is there another third one? It can be even early in your life.
Oh, look at. I think my father was a big influence, and you know he's tough ass. In those days, they were. Yeah, he was a big influence on me. As I said, you know, Lloyd Bott and Franco Belgiano were a huge influence on me. They probably character forming in many respects. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There were others along the way. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then sort of pivotal moments. Sound like pivotal getting moved to, you know, going to DC.
Yeah. Well, the pivotal moment was really the Sydney Harbour Tunnel deal. The day we closed that, you know, and I had a company credit card, and they were very stingy in Transfield, and I took everybody out, and we drank French champagne all afternoon. And the bill came in for a couple of $1,000, and I think, oh, they'll get cross about that. And they didn't say a word.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, yeah. And so because the team at work, we're working all-nighters getting the deal across the line and what have you. Yeah.
They might have looked at it and thought it was a bit cheap.
Yeah, probably thought it was a bit cheap.
Go back out again.
Yeah, go back out again. Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
And then a bit more on the personal side, you know, what drives you in business? Like these days, obviously you're more of sounds like you're doing a lot more mentoring work, a lot of chairman. Is there something that sort of motivates you, makes you turn up to work every day?
Well, see, I come from that generation that worked hard, really hard. We're sort of designed for work. I get bored quickly, and I enjoy work, actually. I actually enjoy it, and I enjoy the challenge. But I think as I get older, I think continuing to work keeps me healthy.
Yeah, gotcha.
See, I've just turned 80, and, you know, resting heart rate 52.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No problem with cholesterol, no problem with sugar. Why? Because I keep working.
Yeah.
That keeps this going.
Yeah, it does.
And if you keep this going, you keep that going.
And so what's your routine? You set an alarm every morning? You
set an alarm up, go, I'll either go to the gym or go for a long walk or something like that in the mornings. Yeah.
Just kicks off a routine.
And do that every day, you know, do something every day and just keep working. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Watch the food. Watch the grog a bit, you know, but don't be too stingy.
Go back to you mentioned that obviously your first PPP. Your role in that, like, did you get involved in like the financing?
Oh yes, I was the project. I was the director. Gotcha. The whole team reported to me. Gotcha. So the construction people, everybody fed into it. The design people, everything fed in. It was a combination.
Gotcha. So you're solving all the buckets.
You've got to because the thing is, it's complicated and every bit rubs off on the other bit, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got to have the whole lot pulled together. Now, that doesn't mean I'm an expert in design and construction, but I know enough about it to know to supervise it and to get the right team to do it. But then you've got to pull all those threads together.
Yeah.
See, you know, we sign a concession which for 30 years we're operating it. We've got to have an operational plan, detail.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got to have long-term insurance to cover it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to cover all of those. Your checklist is enormous.
Yeah,
You know.
gotcha.
On projects like Melbourne Citylink, we're talking thousands of pages and stuff. So you've got to have that all pulled together and it's got to be consistent. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so you've got to be, as the leader, you've got to be across every single issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That you have experts doing their
Gotcha.
independent individual bits, of course, obviously.
Yeah, but you're just pulling it all together.
Yeah, you pull it together. And the other trick is make sure you've got the best possible experts.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's aspects you don't understand. You just got to have someone that
You
clearly...
got to and you have the ones you trust. And I got to say, those ones like going back from the tunnel even, they still work with me. So Robert Rust, who worked on Sydney Harbour Tunnel as a young engineer from South Australia at the time, he's on the board of Infrastructure South Australia with me. Yeah. Why? Because I trust Rusty.
Yeah, it's
he's
key,
just
isn't it?
he's so reliable.
Yeah.
He's a bit doer. He just doesn't. He's a man of few words, but boy, when he talks, to listen.
Yeah. I always find that hard in the workplace. It's from a technical perspective, computer programmers and quite complex data science elements. It's very hard to manage people in an area that you're not an expert in.
It is.
And the only way you can do it is get someone into that you can trust.
You can trust as the go-between.
Can give you the message.
But I also have another personal theory: learn something new every day. So I get into something new like that. I'll do as much. I'm reading as much as possible and talking as much as possible at the moment about AI.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it's phenomenal. It is world changing. And I'm not an expert, but I know enough about it now that I can ask the right questions and don't make too many mistakes in it. But, you know, I love learning this new stuff every day. I think it's very exciting. So when I did the Melbourne Sydney pipeline, we had a problem cracking in the joins in the pipe. And we're talking massive pipe, you know, and fixing them enormously expensive. And I didn't know anything about metallurgy or welding. So I went to TAFE and did a course in welding.
Good idea. Yeah.
Vertical down welding. I still don't, I haven't done any for 100 years, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But see, that meant I could sit there, talk to, you know, the builders and the metallurgists and have an understanding of what they're talking about. Yeah, I thought, well, something to learn.
It's a good way to develop a rapport, right? You want to learn something.
And then they like the fact that you respect their craft so much that you went and learnt about it. I mean, I'm probably one of the world's worst welders you've ever seen.
Yeah,
because it's a magical skill. People that are really good welders on high strength steel are just incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, right? Like another analogy, you go to another country, you try and learn a few words.
Yes.
They appreciate that you've tried
to.
You can say hello, how are you?
That's
kind
it.
of, you're never going to be an expert on it.
No. And you'll always like, you know, in France even, if you say bonjour, as soon as you walk into a store, service goes through the roof, improves. You get in there and you just look at them, you're finished.
Just get home, mate.
Get home, mate. You're done. Yeah,
totally agree. Makes sense. Now, a couple of things that have worked. If you just go through, we'll go through what hasn't worked. A couple of things in your career, if you try and put one or two, what have worked well for you?
No, look, it's. I think, you know, and I've given most of that already.
Yeah.
What went well for me was getting the right team of experts around me.
Gotcha.
And having people you can trust. And what went wrong is when I got the wrong experts.
Yeah.
And something went wrong.
Yeah.
So on Citylink, we messed up the design, and it cost hundreds of millions of dollars. That was a massive lesson to me in the importance of geotechnical studies beforehand.
Gotcha.
So if somebody comes to me with a project now and say, have you done the geotech? Oh, no, we're not doing that until we've got the deal. Nope, not interested, sorry. Gotcha. You'll make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you don't know you don't know what's underground and you'll get unpleasant surprises. Yeah. It'll blow your budget out and delay the project.
Yeah.
And all because you're too stingy to spend the money up front to find out what's really there. Most of those government blowouts in New South Wales and Victoria are due purely to failure to do geotech studies properly at the start.
Gotcha. Is that a cost saving?
Yeah, they do it at the start because they say, oh, no, we think we know when it's there and we take a chance. And that's inexperience, gross inexperience. Gotcha. It just costs you a fortune. Yeah.
It's not often you can isolate it quickly, right? It's the same issue across multiple projects.
Across many projects, across many projects, whether they're tunnels, whether they're buildings, whatever, bridges or power stations, what have you, which I've worked on all of those, is you get the geotech right and you're a lot less likely to make a mistake in design and construction.
Gotcha.
Yes, that's one of the big lessons of my life. And also the other thing, in a more broader sense, is when you're putting together a big project, don't be mean on the upfront expenses. Invest so that you don't get any unpleasant surprises in any issue from design, construction, operation, finance, particularly. Make sure you got everything locked in before you go, hit the go button. Then you're a lot less likely to run into problems on the way. Gotcha. Do your homework. Do your homework.
I mean, I'm more from a finance background. But it's just logical and it's mathematical nearly, right?
Is.
So you just do, I'm going to spend X up front and I think it's going to cost me, Y across the journey, and then you've got a payback period across time, and you PV it. If it costs you a massive chunk up front and the model, still adds up, it doesn't mean it's a bad trade to spend that up front. You just got to do the analysis.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you want to learn more about alternative assets, there's a book here you can read, How You Grow Your Wealth with Alternative Assets. Now back to the episode.
Travis, you're spot on.
Yeah.
And a lot of developers just seem to think they can take the risk, or they think they can rely on their experience or judgment or what have you. Yeah, well, many of them come undone because of that, and they haven't done it properly. Yeah.
So this is a bit.
Well, the other thing I've learnt too is make sure when you've got a big long-term project, make sure your first debt tranche is for a much longer period you can get. Good. Don't have a refi after 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I heard that once. That was a disaster. Cost a fortune. Cost equity a huge amount. Ridiculous. Yeah. If you've got a long-term project, you can't have a first tranche of debt at 4 to 5. That's bull. It's got to be at least 10 years.
That's why.
Because as you know, the cycles in the finance community, 4 or 5 is nothing. That's a blink. They're going up and down. But at least over 10 years, you've got averaging, So I learnt that very early, and that cost me a lot of money. Personally, by the way, too.
And you can see that they change, right? The PPPs now, if you look at the finance, they're financing to an expected life.
Yeah.
They've got inflation attachment to them quite often.
That's right.
You're talking 20 to 30 years sort of debt at times.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, it is. And it's, you get that right, you're fine and you're secure, and it's cheaper.
It's one less problem too, by the way. If you've got long-term funding, you've locked in the funding rate.
Yeah.
You don't have to,
so I can put that away.
Yeah.
And now I can worry about the operations and cash flow and the business. Yeah, I agree.
Now a couple of short, sharp ones. Top tips for business. I think one you mentioned before, which I reckon is really good, is the first thing you get up in the morning, the first thing you do at work is what's your biggest problem. Just go and deal with it up front. Any other sort of tidbits for people to think about?
Yeah, look, I was talking about this yesterday. The importance of having your team in the business, whether it's BHP or a small company, having the team all aligned and having them happy to be there, if you know what I mean. Like, we saw a bit of this in COVID with people saying, I miss coming to the office. That's a fabulous sign.
Yeah, it is.
When somebody says to you, I really miss being in the office, I like being with the gang, blah, 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 that is a phenomenal tick for that company.
For sure.
So that doesn't mean people are sitting around, drinking daiquiris all day. It means they like working together. The work environment is encouraging, cooperative. You have a bit of fun along the way, that sort of stuff. And it's important that we spend 70% of our waking hours working. It's important the environment is constructive, positive, and friendly.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have the odd joke and what have you, and you have the odd party and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
It's very important. And also the other thing too is, and when you're in a big outfit, make sure you deal and you are known to everybody from the shop floor right up to the top. Yeah. I always make it a point of, I know the name of our cleaner of our office.
Gotcha.
Hey, hello, Mary. How are you? How's things? How's the family? You do that with everybody.
Yeah.
You make sure everybody feels that you're open, that you're not up yourself, that you can't be touched and blah 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 blah. Yeah. You make sure people feel comfortable coming to you, and then they will come to you if there's a serious issue or a problem or what have you, or they need assistance, and don't because they know they're not going to get their heads blown off.
Makes sense. It bubbles up quicker, right?
It does. See, our resource in business is our people. Okay, we might have copper or gold or blah, 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 but the resource is the people that pull it out of the ground for you or that build it for you or whatever, and they are our major resource, and we've got to look after them. And the better you look after them, the better they perform. Now, you get the oddball that won't, well, okay. Rationalise.
Make an adjustment.
Hasta la vista, baby. But 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 the good ones you've got to work with, and you've got to grow them and help them and blah 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 blah. And like in the old Transfield, if one of our workers, wife or children was badly hurt or blah and said, we just say take a couple of months off. No argument. You just do that naturally.
Gotcha.
I remember Franco. I was in a camp down at Sale one day. We were working on the offshore there, and a foreman came in after dinner. We all stayed in the camp, of course. We had an Italian chef, and this guy came over. He's a foreman who'd been with the company from day one, came from Italy. Blah blah blah. Great guy, terrific operator. He said, "Oh, Mr. Belgiano, my mother's in Italy and she can't get a visa to come to Australia, and she's not well, and we're really worried about her." And Franco said, "Well, give me the details." And he writes them down. Then he says to the chef, "Hey, Luigi, give me the phone, please." Then the phone comes, and he's on the phone to somebody, and he's talking out loud, and somebody important. And then hear the guy saying, "Oh, Franco, lovely to hear from you. How can I help you?" And he said, "Have you got a pen?" And the guy said, "Yeah." He said, "I've got some details for you." And then he explained the story to him. "I'd like you to look after this for me, please." He hangs up. I said, "Who's that, Franco?" He said, "That's the Minister for Immigration." A few weeks later, Nonna arrives in Melbourne.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Now, what does that do to the company?
Yeah, for
that team, we had a huge team there. It was a difficult project, hundreds of people. What does that do to the team when they hear that story?
Yeah.
Loyalty.
Yeah, for sure.
Loyalty. You're part of the family. And I said to him one stage, I was getting a bit cheekier, so I went on, yes, there's a lot of nepotism in this company. He said, "I believe in nepotism." He said, "I believe in family. I believe in employing the people of families whom I trust and know."
Sure.
He said, "I believe in nepotism. You Anglos, you've got your weird ideas. We don't."
Yeah, good on him.
He's right.
It says a lot, though, right?
It says
he's got networks, he's got connections, he's good at building relationship, building rapport.
Yeah.
And then he's prepared to use those connections network to help out his mates or his staff.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. But again, he had that thing about, the lowest people. He said, he used to call us overheads. He said, "You're just overheads. You just count the money. You don't make me money. You count it. Yeah. These are the people who make us money." So in his office in Arthur Street, if I wanted a meeting with him, I had to go through his EA and all that stuff. If a foreman was just visiting town, he could, in his high-vis and boots, he could just walk straight into the chairman's office without any. Yeah. And he, "Oh, how are you? How are you, Tony? Sit down. Oh, would you like a coffee?" And
gotcha.
And he said, "Well, these are the people that are important.
They're on the tools. They're on the tools moving the dirt.
They're the ones that are making us money, not you people."
That's pretty funny.
And see, he had his priorities right. And that's been a big lesson to me. Look, I understand the importance of the finance department and treasury and blah, 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 but understand it's these people here. They're the ones that make us and save us money. Yeah,
gotcha.
Look after them. They're the ones.
Sure.
Yeah, and in mining, it's the miners that count. It's not the head office in Collins Street. Yeah. It's the miners. to make us money. Yeah.
It's like in the finance world, it's the people speaking to the customers.
Yeah, it is.
Ringing them up and helping them out with a problem.
Kate Page and Jerry Harvey are great mates and been fantastic to me over many years. I mean, their love for their staff in the retail business is just remarkable.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And, as Jerry said, I started selling electric goods, going door to door with vacuum cleaners, and Kate said I started working as a sales assistant in Harvey Norman sort of thing. Did it from the roots up.
Good way to start.
Yeah, that's how it starts. And so they identify with these people. They look after their franchisees because they say they're important to us. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
I mean, they've been in their shoes.
It's not rocket science, but it's simple.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many businesses don't get it and think, the head office is, the gods and they know everything. Well, not really.
Yeah, true.
It's people down here that are making us money.
Oh, totally right.
Yeah. So you've got to get rid of that arrogance. Head office arrogance is very dangerous. Yeah.
Totally right.
Well, look at Boeing. They blew up their plane business because of arrogance in their leadership group.
Yeah.
Total arrogance and ignoring the advice of the engineers, by the way. Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Saving a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nearly kill people. Yeah.
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 I think maybe you get that from your time in Murrumbeena.
I do.
Humble background.
The humble background is great. It's a great
totally
training ground. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, a bit of a philosophical one. What's if you think about legacy, what legacy are living and leaving? It's a tough question to ask.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I hope in some time somebody will sit down and really say, well, look at all these projects that have delivered for Australia and done terrific work for my country. I love my country more than just about anything in it on earth, other than my children, grandchildren. But hopefully that legacy is remembered. Yeah,
for sure.
Because I worked hard.
Yeah.
No, I did well out of it. Yeah, no doubt about that. But I worked bloody hard, and I think of all those all-nighters and and living in hotels in Melbourne and flats in Melbourne while I'm living in Sydney, sort of thing. And I think, well, hopefully that wasn't for nothing and get some recognition over time. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think you're held in the business industry at the moment. Sort of, it's the external. Yeah. What external people say is probably more important than what you think in a way, right? Yeah. Because you don't. You got to earn that credibility.
You do. You have to earn it. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it has been a great land of opportunity. I'm not sure that it still is, but anyway, we should make sure it is. We've got to make sure it is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We've got to talk it up and we've got to wind it up.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and we've got to convince government that the private sector is not the enemy. They are the wealth generators.
For sure.
And there's sort of this almost new socialist thing going around, government should own and operate everything. No, that's not the answer. That's the private sector that generates wealth.
Yeah,
they are the ones that generate wealth, generate taxes, provide employment, and guarantee growth. Yeah,
totally agree. Like in my role at iPartners, I work with a lot of startup businesses, a lot of businesses trying to grow and get capital, and most of them are driven by entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
People that start by themselves.
Yes.
Then they hire their first person, the second person. They end up hiring 50 to 100 people. That's 50 to 100 jobs created.
It is.
By someone taking a risk. Hey, if you're enjoying this, please leave a review. It's really important to us. We're trying to build momentum around education, and better reviews will get more people coming and listening.
Taking a risk, and they are terrific, and that's what we need more of, because we've become, in a general sense, a bit too risk averse in my view. And we weren't in the old days. And all right, we have our crashes and people go badly, but 90% went really well, and we profited by it, and the country grew as a result.
For sure.
You have to take risk.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, a lot of my old mentors always said that. Let's take a risk.
For sure.
Let's take a risk. We've got to take a risk.
Yeah.
It's got to be a managed risk, and we've got to try and cover off all the things that could go wrong, but let's take a risk. Yeah. Let's go.
Some point,
because if we stay here like it is, we're not going to do anything. Yeah,
totally agree. Yeah, at some point, it's always a calculated risk, right? You get a couple of smart people sitting around a table or a smart person, and you cut out sort of what you can on the downside, but at some point you got to jump.
Yes,
and you got to run, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all
Travis,
part of the game.
it's true, and good work for you, because it's important that we encourage that.
Mm.
You know, you look at some of those, you know, the great IT companies that are coming out of Australia from nowhere.
Yeah.
And look at those guys. I think they're fantastic.
For
I
sure.
think they're brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. I
And
agree.
they've put Australia on the map.
Yep.
And they took great risks.
Mm.
And they were innovative and took, you know, what have you, and the finance sector backed them. And boy, oh boy, look at how well they've done.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
it's brilliant.
Yep.
And people go on about them. And I think, no, we should be very pleased. We should be. See, this is the difference with America. In America, people would be proud of that.
Yeah.
And they don't mind if you fail in America. Oh, you've never been bankrupt. God, what are you doing? You're not taking enough risk.
Yeah, gotcha.
I love that attitude, and
Yeah.
we've got to get more of that in Australia now. We've got to get that back again. You know, we've got to get that back.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because they actually praise and reward success, but they expect you to take a chance. And if you do, it doesn't work out. They say, at least you had a go.
Yeah. It does feel like it's got a little bit more entrepreneurial culture.
It has. It has.
And there is a solid entrepreneurial culture in Australia that I come across and see.
Yes.
And lots of people doing really well and building businesses. So
Yes.
I think there's a lot of positives there, right? A lot of
Yes.
optimism in what sort of small business owners are
Yeah,
doing.
I got a friend of mine lives. He used to live in Miami. He bought a mansion there, and he fixed he had to get the mansion all fixed up. It hadn't been, and he called the electrician in. The electrician went around the house and, you know, to give him a quote about fixing all the wiring and all that stuff. And the guy said to him, "Well, buddy, you must have worked really hard. You've done extremely well to buy this magnificent home. Well done, well done." And he called me about it. He said, and an Australian electrician say, "Oh, this bastard, he's got plenty of money. I'll screw him."
Yeah. It just cost you 10 grand to get a new light plug.
Yeah. He said that, and he said, "This is why I live in America now, because of that attitude is universal. If you're successful, they don't criticise you. They actually praise you because you've obviously worked hard and done a good job to get there." Yeah. They recognise that. It's a different philosophy, and we've got to get a bit more of that in Australia. Yeah, stop being, green with envy about somebody who's successful.
Yeah.
Have a look why.
Yeah, I mean, success typically comes from hard work.
It comes from,
Putting
I
in,
don't know
taking
any
some
of them.
risk.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah, hard work. They all worked hard to get there. Of course they did. And took risks and mortgaged their houses and all that stuff and worked 2 jobs and all that jazz. Yeah, and so we should be praising them.
Totally agree.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in just a couple of quick fire questions. Now, what was your first job? You can go as young as you need to go.
Okay, first job, I worked on the apricot line at the Rosella factory in Richmond.
Wow, pretty good.
Part-time, as during my school holidays. I was 14, and I was so tired at the 12-hour shift, and I'd get on the train to go home, and I'd fall asleep at the train and wake up in Frankston.
Wow.
I tell you what,
I know where that is.
That's when that convinced me I'm definitely going to uni. I'm not going to work in this sort of a job.
Did you get any free food afterwards? They give you
Yeah, you used to get a bag of apricots and a tin of this and a tin of that, that sort of stuff.
That's proper work.
Yeah.
Piece of advice for your younger self?
Look, the advice came mainly from my dad, I'd say, but he was good. And then when I get into business, he said, "Now listen, always wear a good shirt and a good tie and a good suit. Now, no matter how poor you are, turn yourself out properly. It's an insult to people when you go out and you look scraggly and blah, 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 blah. Always turn up well and make sure you polish your shoes. Shoe polish costs you nothing.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, I agree.
So always look sharp, because if you dress sharp, people may think they're a lot sharper than you actually are."
Oh, I like that's good advice.
But it's good advice. He said that, but also this courtesy thing.
Yeah.
He said, "Look, a woman walks in the room, stand. Always say hello to the woman first. Always offer your seat. Have all those standard courtesies that that set us apart from the rest of the world, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Just be courteous with people all the time. Yeah. But also, he was one of those and be courteous to people down the line as well. Don't have this big-headed, I'm the boss sort of thing. You're the servant sort of stuff. Yeah,
totally agree. Manners can take you a long way.
Manners can take you everywhere. He said, like the most successful politicians, business people, and what have you, virtually in most cases have very good manners. Yeah.
Very good. What motivates you most as a person?
I don't know. Just keeping what motivates me most. Well, the biggest inspiration to me is my grandchildren, whom I adore.
Yep.
Children, they're great motivators. And they keep me on my toes, and they don't believe in sort of mothering me or fathering me. They give me the facts all the time. They're great, but they are inspiring. They're a great inspiration. But I just think the world is so interesting, exciting. Just learning something every day I find is inspirational.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
Tips for driving long-term wealth?
Yeah. Well, look, I've been partially successful and partially a failure there, so I'm not a really good tip. I can give good tips there. Look, I think for driving good long-term wealth is the first thing is this. I notice with extremely wealthy people, one of the great things about them is they're incredibly careful in spending money.
Gotcha.
So, when you start to make a bit of money, don't go out and buy racehorses and a Porsche and blah, 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 because you've got the cash.
Agree.
No, invest it.
Yep. Agree.
And the wealthiest people I know are quite careful on that stuff. I know billionaires who don't fly business class in Australia.
Yeah, got you.
Don't, because they think it's a waste of money and it's a bad sign to the rest of the company.
It's a good one. Yeah.
You think, oh, that's a bit, what a bit mean. Yeah. No, they believe in, making money's hard, spending money's easy. So be careful with your money.
It's a smart one.
And then when you do invest in things that, like if you're going into property, well, that's a good idea. Make sure you get the right property in the right area, blah, 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 blah. Yep. If you're buying something, you want something on the harbour, we'll get something on the harbour because there's only 3,000 of them and there's not going to be any more. So, they're going to go up in value over time.
Totally
so they're a good, secure, long-term investment.
Yep.
In terms of companies, look at them, look at their track record and, if they've got a great track record going over 10 or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, well, they're going to be a sure bet. They may not shoot the lights out, but your money's going to be safe and it's going to grow and it'll keep pace with inflation, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but when you do have the big punt on something on a development scale, well, which is, could be the big winner, so, make sure that you don't stretch yourself too far and that you don't have to sell your house if it goes badly, that sort of stuff. Keep enough in reserve. Build up your reserve and keep your base going, but be prepared to have a bit of a gamble if you think you think it's worthwhile. But just make sure you don't bet the whole farm.
Agree.
Because if it does, it can take you a long time to recover.
Totally agree. Yeah, you got to size your investments.
You got to size your investment, and But be careful with your money as well. Even when you're rich, sort of thing. Don't waste it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Because it's bloody easy to spend. It's very hard to make.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, when you're not working, and you mentioned your grandchildren already, how do you like to spend your time?
Reading.
Yep.
I'm still, I try and read a book, every week. I haven't lately. I've been a bit too busy, but reading. I'm getting back into scuba diving.
Wow,
I love it. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I love skiing.
Yeah.
So I haven't got time this ski season, but I'll be going skiing in the United States in December, January. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I just love skiing. I love that. And I also, I gave it up, because I've been too busy. I love drawing, and I'm going back into drawing classes again.
Good.
Yeah, because I just enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. You got a good
do
blend.
that sort of thing, and I love the ACO, so I'm one of their sponsors now, and I go to all their concerts and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's good relaxation. And of course, I adore football.
I
go to all the Giants games and what have you, which is great fun.
Yeah, I was going to drop that one at the end. Coming from Victoria, you got to love
footy.
footy.
You've got to love footy, and the Giants are just terrific. And they're such a wonderful group of people. They're a pleasure to be with. The players, the officials, the coaches, the crew led by Dave. Yeah. They're just great people.
Yeah, I agree.
They're just good to be with.
Yeah, I've watched from the outside GWS as it's evolved through the number of years, and it's always seen a very professional, well-run club.
Thank you.
And continuing to grow as a club and a business.
Yeah, well, look,
we
we agreed early, and Sheedy was great. He was terrific. Mentor at the start and set the culture up properly. And then with Dave and I, we're great believers in family. And we've turned it into a family club.
Totally agree.
Families are always welcome. The AFL's always whinging about how many families are in the rooms after the games. And I won't tell you, I won't use the language, fairly strong. Yeah. And I said, they're ours and they're here and they're part of the family and we encourage the family. And like when we started with all the new boys, we had a program going whereby they all came up from Melbourne or Adelaide or what have you. If we were in Melbourne, we had a function for all the parents. The parents were always welcome.
Yeah.
When a boy turned 18, we'd get mum up from Melbourne. She'd cook a cake. We'd go to the local pub and we'd have a birthday celebration for the boy turning 18.
That's great.
And what does that do? See, we've got ex-players who've left us and got away. They still love the Giants because of that.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a family atmosphere. Everybody's welcome, and we treat everybody equally, sort of thing.
So myself and all my kids have been in the rooms after a game as well.
Yeah, it's
So
good,
I've
isn't
been
it? And you've seen it.
Yeah,
well,
it's
see,
great.
that doesn't happen in a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
They're actually a bit standoffish in that area.
Yeah.
It happens in the Giants. We love it.
Yeah, that's
and I
great.
love having the kids run around and Cog's kids and Cal Woods and kids and all that. The babies are all around. I love having it there. It's good. It's a great atmosphere.
No, they've done really well.
Yeah, and again, Dave, of course, extremely strong family man like me, and that works well. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been great having
Travis.
a chat.
Yeah.
If you're interested in connecting with Tony, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, and we'll include the link in the show notes. But really appreciate the chat. It's been brilliant.
Thanks. Okay, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Good.
Hey, if you're enjoying this, please leave a review. It's really important to us. We're trying to build momentum around education, and better reviews will get more people coming and listening.